details about different fellowships and opportunities for the early career. And then we have Dr. T. Thangaraju, who's from SERB, Science and Engineering Research Board, which is a body of Department of Science and Technology. So he has been there since more than 5 years. He did his PhD from Center of Advanced Study in Marine Biology, and he was also assistant professor at Annamala University and also a Center of Advanced Study in Marine Biology. So SERB is interesting in a way that it funds all the stream of science, not just biological sciences. People who are from non-biology should be interested in this, asking questions from him. And then we have Dr. L.K. Sharma from ICMR. He's a scientist at Division of Biomedical Informatics. So he did his PhD in computer science and then MTech in computer science before that. And he joined as a scientist at ICMR, National Institute of Occupational Health. So you can put up your questions regarding the ICMR research grant or opportunities for early career fellows. Now, for our breakout room sessions, we have early career fellows. We have 5 early career fellows who have again secured a grant from different agencies. So we have Dr. Shubhashika Govindan, who's a welcome early career fellow at IIT Madras. She did her PhD at the University of Geneva, and then she had a postdoctoral tenure at EPFL Lausanne, and then she secured this early career fellowship and moved back to IIT Madras. And then we have Dr. Amrita Patnaik. So she will be very helpful for the people who are from the medical or clinical research field, because she herself is MD from Ramaiah Medical College, Bangalore, and she was also a senior resident at NIMHANS, Bangalore. Currently, she is an assistant professor at Manipal Institute of Virology. Then we have with us Dr. Atul Kumar, who's assistant professor at ISER Bhopal, and he has secured IYBA research grant from DBT. So he did his PhD from CSIR-IGIB, and after that he had a very successful postdoctoral tenure at MRC unit of University of Dundee. We have with us Dr. Ashutosh Srivastav, who recently secured this DST Startup Research Grant. He's an assistant professor at IIT Gandhinagar. He did his PhD at CSIR Lab CCMB, and then he did his postdoc at Nagaya University, Japan. And recently he moved to IIT Gandhinagar and secured this DST grant. We have also Dr. Kumardeep Chaudhary, who recently joined this CSIR-IGIB as an early career researcher. So he will be talking about how you can negotiate and establish yourself in the CSIR Institute. He's a senior scientist at CSIR-IGIB. So he did his PhD at CSIR MTech, and then he did his postdoc at ICANN School of Medicine at Mount Sinai. So all of these people, these fellows would be there in breakout room sessions. So after the panel discussion, I would request everyone to stay in the room and join individual rooms and talk to these people and get their informations. We have also put up their pre-recorded videos. I hope most of you must have seen it. In case if you have not seen, I would recommend you to go through that. So they have already put up a very nicely arranged details of each of these fellowships, so that you can get an understanding of it. So for the topic of panel discussion, so we will be covering this panel broadly in 2 major, I would say, subjects. So first we will be looking into the application package. So what does it in a application package that makes it a successful application? So that is what we will be asking from the panel, because we have a very senior people there, so they will be telling us about that. And then we will also talk about that how the trends and the successful grants change with the time, and what we can expect in the future from these agencies in regards to the successful grants. With that, I would like to hand it over to my friend Piyush to start the panel discussion for the session. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Dilip. What a wonderful day to start with, hosting such a wonderful people in the session. So before I start, I'll request all the participants, you may ask question in the Q&A box, and I will request all the panelists, including the early career fellows who will be in the breakout session, to engage in answering question on the sideline. So first of all, like myself, I am Dr. Piyush Biharilal. I'm an assistant professor and Ramas Lingaswamy Fellow at Kasturba Medical College in Manipal. So I moved back from US after 14 years of research in US back to India. So when I moved, I was literally shaking inside, like how I will start my research career here. I don't know anyone here. I don't have idea about Indian research grants, fellowships, everything. So could you all please mute when you are not speaking? May I request you to mute yourself, please? Yeah, thank you. Yes, great. So having your presence here in enlightening us about the early career grants is very helpful to people like me. So I thank all the panelists. And with this, I start our session. So first, start with application package reviewing things. So first question we have is like, what are some of the major factors in a candidate's application that results in a favorable decision from a funding agency? So I'll request first to start with Dr. Chalat. He might enlighten us on this topic.
Thank you for the question. It's a very interesting question. Before answering it, thanks to the organizers for inviting us from India Alliance to speak to this very interesting audience. So coming to your question, basic fundamental requirement of any successful grant research proposal is the novelty of the research. Is the research new? How is it contributing to the research problem, the area, the field? And is it taking the field further ahead? Or is it just continuing? Is it like a continuation of some other work? So is it taking the research in a completely new direction? So these are some of the things related to the proposal that is important in any successful application. Other aspects would be to have, since whatever the application would be for a grant from a funding agency, and every funding agency for every scheme would have a certain limit on the budget, and to stay within the budget and follow the guidelines of the funding agency in preparing the budget. The other point is, of course, the CV of the applicant. What are you applying for? A scheme which is commensurate with your experience, with your career trajectory? How is your past record, and have you shown evidence of leadership to lead the group or to take ownership of the research proposal? Saying of the ownership of the proposal is also important. So what we see often with early career researchers is that they tend to continue with the research they have they have pursued during their PhD or in their postdoc supervisor's lab. And so a lot of them tend to not move out of that comfort zone and continue their research in the same line, in the same field. So what that means is that you are competing with your supervisor for the same research problem, and obviously your supervisor would be more established and with better experience and better resources. Even if you would like to continue in the same line, the same field, it's important to carve out a niche, a specialized area for yourself. Then another aspect that would be important is to have relevant mentors and collaborators who would help you with your research work. Increasingly, science or research is a collaborative effort, and it's clear that any given single researcher won't have all the resources, and so it's important to find the collaborators or places where you could find the resources that will be required to to successfully execute your research proposal. These are some of the broad points that I can think of a successful proposal or application.
Thank you, Dr. This is very helpful. So now I may request Dr. Thangraju, please enlighten us on this topic.
Yeah, thank you, first of all, for calling me for this fruitful discussion. And of course, I agree with most of the points Dr. Chalat has pointed out earlier. And of course, we are also following many of these guidelines and for evaluating the proposal. But where we are differing is depending on the program objective. Some of the areas we are a little bit differing, but largely covering the points which Dr. Chalat has already pointed out. So, for example, if we are looking for a Ramanujan fellowship who is interested to come back to country and establish his research lab, where we are looking for his expertise, what is the knowledge he is going to bring to the country, that will be taken as an additional advantage, whether the country requires such knowledge and there is a dearth in such areas, and how he got the expertise, how he got trained in the international platforms. These things will be taken up in an additional criteria. And when we talk about National Postdoctoral Fellowship specifically, how the candidate's track record up to PhD level is there, and how he is trying to expand his areas to other programs and other labs. As Dr. Chalat has already pointed out, the conducting research in their comfort zone is one type of expanding research in, and how people are coming out of their comfort zone and excelling their research is the one area we are much expecting from the national postdoctoral candidates. Otherwise, most of the programs are expected the same criteria which Dr. Chalat has pointed out.
That is wonderful. So moving out of comfort zone is very important.
Yes.
That's what I see. Okay. Now I request Dr. Sharma, please enlighten us on this topic.
Thank you. I convey my thanks to all organizer and best wishes. You are coming with wonderful platform to share the idea. As previous speaker already informed, just I want to add in specific in our agency, you can say our department. Basically, in our department, deal with the health. So, any research proposal, novelty and other thing is also important, as well as we see the proposal is any public health aspect important in public health aspects or not, because as being a health organization, our important is also the public health and specific in Indian context, because we are funding from the Indian public fund. So always we, in our evaluator want to see in this proposal there is any component which can directly or indirectly help to improve the life of the pupil, health of the pupil, or identify the a certain issue of the pupil. As well as another important thing, sometimes we observe that a young researcher come with multiple objectives. So, but project fund, when we fund, so there is a time limitation, for example, 2 year or 3 year. So it's also be very important that whatever you are committing in terms of the objective, is it feasible to fulfill in given time duration? So it is always suggested to newcomer, you don't come with very long objective or very ambitious, because there is a time constraint. We are funding agency is not going to provide very long. There is a different program. There are different time limit also. So only you come with those objectives that can be feasible or fulfilled within the time framework. So that is the also important.
Great. So that is important. So I got two important points come out of the niche, the PhD or postdoctoral work niche, and then be realistic. That's the like in other words.
Yeah.
So that's great. Thank you. So then, how important is the host institute? Like, do you consider it as a factor when you review any application?
In our term, only we see we see the proposal of the candidate, and suppose candidate want to work on biotechnology. So Haas Institute should have the biotechnology laboratory. Suppose they want to work on genetics, so Haas Institute have the laboratory facility on genetic. So only we see the what is the his or her proposal, what they are going to do, and such facility should be available on the host institute. That is the only important thing. And other eligibility for becoming the host institute should be fulfilled. Like in our case, if it is the private institute, then CRO's recognition is mandatory. NGO institute, so CRO as well as the registration on Darpan, NGO Darpan portal is a mandatory. So these are the administrative criteria to fulfill one host institute. So we see this. Major important thing is that based upon the proposal, that infrastructure to pursue this research should be available with host institute. That is the important.
Okay, and what about, like, if I may ask Dr. Chalat and Dr. Thangaraju to answer this question? Like, to also consider host institute as an important factor in applicants' review?
We are not distinguishing the host institutions as far as our concern. As far as the government of India norms, the 2 points are very necessary. If it is an educational institution, there is no issues. If it is an NGO, then we will look into the CRO recognition and other Darpan portal registration. These are very mandatory guidelines of government of India. Otherwise, we will look into the candidate's experience and the institutional infrastructure to execute the whatever he has proposed. And some people, as earlier it is pointed out, they will ambitiously propose several things, but when you look into the institution where they are working and the infrastructure available in this institution, they may not adequate enough to execute the work. In those cases, definitely those proposals will get limited chances to get through. So this is the way we will look into the thing.
And question?
Yeah. I echo the views expressed by Dr. Thangaraju and Dr. Sharma. Most of, as at India Alliance, our mandate is to fund research at any not-for-profit institution in India. So as long as it's a not-for-profit institution based within India, it's fine. We don't look at anything else other than, like other speakers said, whether the required infrastructure to execute the proposed research is available at the host institute or not. And if such facilities are not yet available, are there any plans? What plans are in place to secure such facilities in future, either through purchase or through collaborations? So these are basically the wider points. We also look at areas at institutions where they are, if they are from areas which are underserved in our country and from remote areas, and especially if are they from state universities or institutions in remote areas. So these are basically the broader points that we look at. Otherwise, and these are secondary points. Most importantly is it a not-for-profit institution, and does the institution have the necessary facilities?
Okay, and what about the interview? So, like in some of the grant applications, candidates have to go through interviews. So what are the major criteria you are looking for a successful candidate's interview process?
So first is basically the ownership of the research. So especially for early career researchers, they could have got significant amount of inputs from their mentors or past supervisors. But in the end, it is the person who's getting the grant or fellowship who needs to execute the work. So do they have the ownership of the proposed research, and are they in a position to address any unexpected outcomes or things like that? Basically, is the applicant in a position to address the research queries from the selection committee, and do they exhibit sufficient ownership of the proposed research work?
May I ask other person, do you have any kind of this interview process for?
No, at least in SCRB, we are not following any interview kind of thing, and we will be fully depend on the applications and the CV of the candidate. But we are largely depend on the midterm reviews of those proposals, and to make two things: how they are proceeding with the proposal and proposed work, and also to make midterm corrections to execute the work in a proper way to complete the proposed objectives. And otherwise, we are not looking into the interview kind of things at any of those programs at SCRB is implementing.
In our DHR and ISMR system, also for young researchers, there is no such interview. Evaluation is based upon the research proposal only. The research proposal have a specific prescribed format, and based upon that particular format, like study design, methodology. So these are the major part for evaluation of any proposals.
And I would like to add one more point. This is whatever I'm telling is in relation to the early career programs. Otherwise, for the larger research grants, of course, we used to invite the PIs to make presentations wherever it is required. And if the committee feels that your presentation by the PI would make some clarifications, then we will invite those PIs for your personal presentation.
So could you give example, like what are those larger grants?
Yes, like a core research grant. This is the research grant program which supports research funds for the established PIs to execute their research plans, for which, in general, we go by the external reviews and the committee reviews and make the selections. But despite the fact that if committee feels that there are certain gray areas which if PI is making a presentation get clarified so that he will be given with a chance for funding, in those cases only selected PIs may be called. It's like, the people who are at the middle area, whether they can get a chance or get dropped, only those kind of people. Otherwise, outrightly rejected proposal or outrightly selected candidates, we generally not invite for presentation. Those people who fall in the gray area where they have a chance, if they make a presentations, we'll definitely give them a chance to make a presentation in front of the committee, and then we will make the selection procedures.
So yeah, thank you. I have got a couple of questions from the audience. So first question is to Dr. Sharma. So like DBT has Ramalinga Swami, he has Ramanujam Swami Re-Entry Fellowship. So does ICMR also have any such re-entry fellowship for early career researcher?
Actually, when we think you require to see ICMR as well as DHR, Department of Health Research and Indian Council of Medical Research. When we say in terms of department, both are the same. Okay, so some scheme execute from ICMR and some scheme execute from DHR. So yes, in Department of Health Research, we call every year proposal for NRI candidate. Those are working in foreign, but they want to come back in India. So we have such a scheme, and just 2-3 months ago we called, and just recently the selection list is also released. Similarly, apart from the NRI, those has completed just a PhD or even like medical degree, so they can also apply It is called Young Scientist Scheme. So where we provide stipend to scholar as well as per year 10 lakh research grant for contingency and other utilization. And again, we have the another scheme for especially for women, those have a career break due to some family or other reasons. So such scheme is already available with us.
Okay, thank you for such a elaborative answer. So next question is for everyone. It's like, is there any fellowship opportunity for PhDs from India to do postdoc abroad? So it's like, is there any such opportunities for early career PhD researchers?
If I may answer that quickly.
Yeah, sure.
So as part of our early career as well as intermediate fellowship, first of all, India Alliance does not have any programs for PhD students as such. All our programs are for post-PhD graduates. But as part of our programs, there is a provision called Work Outside Host Institution, where our fellows are allowed to travel to a lab outside their host institution or their host lab, either in India or abroad, to continue to establish collaborations and to continue their proposed research work. So we have for early career fellows, this is up to 24 months of total 60 months of the fellowship.
Perfect.
Okay. And as far as the SCRB is concerned, now we have introduced a new program called SCRB International Research Experience Program, which is for the regular employees who are below 40 years, can go for any international labs for 6 months and get research experience. And we'll be paying them with full fellowship and travel support, everything for 6-month period. And this first call is already in open right now. And we had, in the past, we had some postdoctoral programs and all, and with the pros and cons of those programs, now we modified and we decided that people who got experience in the international exposures come back to country and do continue their research work. In that mode, the new Sci-ROI program has been introduced.
In ICMR system also, we have long-term and short-term training program where faculty or researcher can go abroad and they can take the training for 3 months or 6 months as per the requirement, and they can come back. So such schemes are also available with ICMR.
Okay, thank you. Pius, you can go ahead with the next topic.
Okay, it's very wonderful to hear like how to get a successful grant applications. So with the time constant, I'll move to the next topic in this panel session. So that is evolving trends and grants. So the question we have, like, how have the grants from your agency contributed to changing research ecosystem in India? So maybe Dr. LK Sharma starts with this issue.
Pardon, could you repeat?
Yeah, so the question is, how have the grants from your agency contributed to changing research ecosystem in India?
Yeah, when we talk about health system, so through the research, now when you see the trend, now medical professional, it is not only involved in the clinical, now they are moving toward the research. And the important thing is that not only the clinic treating the patient, but only to evolve the new diagnosis thing and how we standardize the diagnosis. So this become very important for the health system. So using the research grant, or you can see the different medical college and health professional now actively involved in the research. So that is the very important for health system to because now in this day, you can take a simple example like COVID, you can take. It was the only the research grant. Through the research grant, we were enable the more than 100 virological laboratory. So we started funding the agency and establishing such laboratory. Then such a pandemic comes. So VRDL lab significant contributed to handle the pandemic. So similar, different their initiative through the research grant council is doing.
So in that perspective, I have a question like, do you have any like somewhere repertoire where we can go and look at all the applications that are funded in last like 10 years? Like heading and abstract?
DST have already one portal where all the agency we submit the information. It is in public domain.
So that contains the title of the funded
They
application.
contain, yeah, exactly. DST already developed a portal. They collect the data from ICMR as well as all the DBT and all. And there is a single portal where you can see how many projects were sanctioned, what is the title of the project, which subject this particular proposal was executed. So it is already available and it is in public domain itself.
Okay. Now I may ask Dr. Chalat to enlighten us on this thing, like if their grants have contributed to any changing Indian research ecosystem.
Yeah. So till date, India Airlines has awarded about 480 fellowships in different categories. And these have gone to about 86 unique institutions in different parts of India. So we have a footprint throughout the country. And about 48% of our early career or intermediate, early career and intermediate, so the early career applicants are those who were outside India at the time of applying and then came back to India with our fellowship and then went on to establish their research, independent research programs in the country. So this is some data just to impress upon all of you of the kind of impact India Alliance programs have had on enhancing the biomedical research ecosystem in the country. In addition to that, in addition to those who get our fellowships, all our applicants get review feedbacks from peer reviewers on their proposed research work, irrespective of whether they are awarded our fellowships or not. This is with an idea that this would help them in their future research, irrespective of their association with India Airlines. So again, we believe this is yet another aspect that would help in promoting the research environment ecosystem in our country. Apart from that, our selection committee is not limited to just selecting the future fellows. They are continuously involved in reviewing the progress of the fellows, and we have what we call what was earlier called an annual fellows meeting, and now we have the annual conclave, where our fellows get to meet with our selection committee members, who are all international researchers, internationally reputed researchers, and to receive inputs and feedback on their progress from these selection committee members. So overall, we believe from the data and from the program structure itself, we have had a tremendous impact on taking the quality of Indian biomedical research to the next level.
That is great. I have heard a lot about the issue with the grant application feedbacks. People say they don't get it. So this is a really remarkable thing, I would say. I would look for when my application is funded or not funded. So that's very helpful. May I ask
Yeah.
Dr.
Yes,
Thangraju
yes,
to
yeah. For the first part of your question, we have taken up the expansion of research in 3 different angles. Number one, by the way, we introduced the National Postdoctoral Fellowship Program. We try to retain the bright minds of the country to stay back in the country, and which we have successfully implemented last 5 years. And we have awarded a few thousand fellowship, NPDF fellowships for the country, and the people who pursued the postdocs in the country itself, they now joined in the regular positions, and they also started getting research grants. This is one way. The other program which I would like to emphasize is TAR, a Teachers Associate ship for Research Excellence, where the people who have done excellent research, but they got employment in rural settings where the research infrastructure are limited, or the research infrastructure are not good enough in their institution where they are working. And we try to develop a program, and by the way, they can get attached with a nearby central institution, and then they can start doing the collaborative research. And for which in the last 3 years, we have funded about 500 research programs. So this is largely benefited the young researchers who are working in colleges and state universities where the research is not taken up in a greater way. And this is the other way where we covered the young minds. And the other program which we successfully implemented the last year is the Power Women Fellowship Program. So we thought that though we are funding a wide range of programs, and the participation of women applicants in each programs was very, very limited. By finding this, our secretary has designed a program where only women participants can able to apply for 2 modes. Either they can take up as a Power Fellowship, which they can get a lucrative fellowship program, which is almost equivalent to JCFO's kind of fellowship grant. And the other one is Power Research Grant. The women candidates can get research grants for 3 years in 2 tiers, 60 lakhs for the people who are working in the central institutions, and the women scientists working in the state institutions and other institutions, they will get 30 lakhs for pursuing their research for 3 years. These are the 3 programs where we try to expand our research area, where try to bring the people who have the limited chances of getting funding.
That is really great. So I see in real time, one of my colleague, Dr. Ranita, she applied for SERP grant, and she had I guess, a couple of years of her break. Request all to mute yourself, please. Dr. Anvesha, may I request to mute yourself, please? Thank you. Yeah, so I was saying, my colleague, she had some breaks in her career, and then she started her research again. Her application went directly from CRG to Power, and it was very helpful. So I must say thank you, because this is really great. And then I'll focus on the second part of the question that came up later was, how do you give, do you give a feedback after reviewing any grant application?
Yes, definitely. All our decision letters will go with the consolidated review comment. And if the people still want to get a detailed review, we will share depending on their request. And this again goes in 2 mode there, because our screening itself is now happening in 2 stages. One is the preliminary screening stage, where the committee members used to screen the proposal and weed out the proposals which definitely have limited scope to get through the final selection. And those proposals committee will give a consolidated comment, and it will not go for external review process. The other proposals which have the scope to get a chance in the final selection, they will go for, that is almost 1/3 of the proposals will go for the external review process, and those proposals will get detailed review by external experts and also by the committee members. These reviews will be available now in the online portal, and whenever the PIs wanted to see the full review comments also, we used to share with them.
Okay.
And
This
practice we are also
Yeah.
using in the midterm review programs. When the projects, implemented projects, when they got reviewed, we'll get comments from the expert panels, and those comments will also be shared with the PIs for doing midterm correction of their project and executing the work in proper way.
Okay, great. So with the time constant, I'll move to the next question. I have a lot of questions though. So in next 10 years, where do you see the majority of the funding being dedicated in research, like in terms of research themes? So like any specific area that you think is like coming up and we should focus on thinking of it from now?
As far as SCRB is concerned, we are not focusing any of the particular program, and we are open to any subject areas which is for applicable to all our regular calls happening every year. But we also used to make special calls every year on specified programs or specified areas. Like last year, we called for establishing cryo electron microscope facilities in the country, which we established at, we funded for 4 institutions to establish. And this year we are called for a biosafety level lab establishment call. And now there are calls open for specific areas like CRISPR-Cas application for plant improvement and the other areas which are very, very specifically focused, which we used to decide every year depending on the areas where international attractions is more.
Okay. May I ask Dr. Sharma if he can enlighten us, like where is the funding going?
In our system, we have, you may categorize in basically in 3 categories. When we talk about early researchers, like in our term, these are the postdoc or research associate or senior research fellow. So we don't have some priorities like that. Every year we call, and it is in all the health aspect domain. There is no specific. Similarly, when we talk about ad hoc proposal, so a PI can apply on all domain. And for the priority basis, we have another kind of project. It is called the task force. In task force, we restrict in priority based mode. That is the solution of the national importance. For example, now tuberculosis elimination is ongoing. Okay, so we have the task force for tuberculosis related research. And similarly, we have the different priority area. So that is the separate call. It is called in our ICMR system task force proposals. But apart from that, like regular ad hoc proposals are for the student or research scholar, when we take, there is no specific priority, like we will select only this proposal or this subject proposal. Any researcher can apply all health research related domain, and based upon the research proposal and novelty of the research, it has been granted.
And Dr. Chalat, if you have to say something on this.
Yeah, so India Alliance's remit is to fund biomedical research, and as such, we fund proposals in all areas of biomedical research, and we don't have any specific programs aimed at any particular problem or any particular disease and things like that. So our programs are broadly divided into basic biomedical research programs and clinical and public health research programs. So as long as the applications, the proposals and the applications could be in these 2 broad areas. As of now, we do not have any plans, concrete plans for any area specific or problem specific funding programs. But I would like to highlight that we recently in 2019 launched 2 grants programs in addition to our fellowship programs, called the Team Science Grant program and the Clinical and Public Health Research Centers program. These are large grants of up to 10 crores in value, which are aimed at promoting interdisciplinary large group research, as well as specific research specific to bio health related issues in India. A component of our Clinical and Public Health Research Centers program is the Clinical Research Training Program, which aims at training clinicians who have not been active researchers, training them in lab-based research, and probably inspiring them to take up clinic research in future. So I hope that answers your question.
No, that is good. Yeah. We have even I have personally a lot of questions, but we are running out of time. So may ask, and the audience may ask the questions in the breakout session. So I thank every panelist. It's really great to host you, and it's an honor for us. So we thank, and Dr. Manali, could you please lead from here?
Thank you, Piyush. So thank you to our panelists, but we do not, this session doesn't end here. A lot of you have asked very specific questions for each of the funding agency. And for this reason, we have breakout rooms assigned to each of the agency, for which we have the funding agency representatives as well as successful grant recipients. So you can direct your specific questions in the breakout room. You can see we have 5 breakout rooms, and I am going to open these now. It has a 45-minute time allotment, and feel free to join any of the room at any time. You can move from one room to another. So with this, so the rooms are open now. So you should see a breakout room option at the bottom of your Zoom screen. If you click on that, you would be able to go to the breakout room you want to. So it has the name of the funding agency. If you have any problem moving, let me know and I can help with that. Dr. Thangaraju, should I assign you to the SCRB room?
Yes, yes.
Okay, okay.
I'm trying to join.
Yeah, let me.
Many of them are joining in my group.
Yeah, yeah. Yes, so, okay, yes. You should see a join link.
Correct.
And yes, Dr. Sharma as well. I will assign you to the. Okay, I think you left.
What happened?
Do you see, Dr. Thangaraj? There is a join button. Do you see?
When I try to touch on that, it vanished.
Okay, so maybe if you go to the bottom of your screen, do you see a breakout room written?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, so if you click on that, it should show join SCRB room.
Right.
Yes, 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 please.
Yes.
Anyone else needs help in moving to a specific breakout room?
Yes. Hi, Manali. This is Kumardeep. Somehow I'm not able to see that icon at the bottom. Can you help me with that?
Sure.
Thank
So
you.
CSIR, right? So I'll just.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. I think you should see a join button now. Do you? Okay, you left. Okay. Anyone?
Hi, Manali. Same issue here.
Sure, sure. Which room you want to go?
5 ICMR.
I see.
Thank you so much.
Here. Anyone else needs help moving to a breakout room?
Hi, Manali. Can you move me to the DBT?
Yes, okay, sure. Let me know if anyone wants to move to a breakout room.